Admiral stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching the blue and green planet grow larger on the main screen. Earth looked peaceful from space. White clouds moved slowly over brown and green land. The oceans sparkled under the light of the yellow star the humans called Sol. "Such a pretty little world," said Commander, walking up beside her. "Hard to believe they managed to build faster-than-light ships." Nodded, she had read all the reports about humans during the long journey to their solar system. The information painted a picture of a young species that had just learned to travel between stars. They used crude chemical rockets and basic nuclear power. Their ships were slow and clumsy compared to technology. "The Galactic Council was right to send us," she said. "These humans need guidance. Without proper direction, they might become dangerous to themselves and others." The fleet consisted of 12 ships. Each one was a work of art, built from silver metal that caught starlight like mirrors. They moved through space silently, powered by clean energy that left no trail. The ships were designed for diplomacy and exploration, not war. The people had not fought a real battle in over 1,000 years. Behind's flagship came ships from 11 other species. They brought their blue crystal vessels that sang as they moved through space. The flew in living ships grown from modified trees. The preferred simple metal boxes that got the job done without fancy decorations. All of these species had joined the Galactic Concordant long ago. They shared knowledge, traded goods, and solved problems together. Now they wanted to invite humanity to join their peaceful alliance. But there were rules. "Bring up the restriction files," ordered. A hologram appeared in front of her, showing page after page of galactic law. Young species like humanity had to follow strict rules when they joined the Concordant. They could not build large warships. They could not develop certain weapons. They could not expand their territory too quickly. "These laws keep everyone safe," had told the Council before leaving. "Young species often make mistakes. They fight wars, destroy planets, and threaten their neighbors. We must guide them carefully." The humans would be given a small area of space to call their own. They could trade with other species under supervision. Teachers would show them how to live peacefully. In a few hundred years, if they proved worthy, they might become full members of the Concordant. "Admiral," called the communications officer, "we are picking up human broadcasts. Put them on the speakers." The bridge filled with strange music and human voices. Listen to their radio shows and news programs. The humans talked about sports, weather, and daily problems. They seemed harmless enough. "Such simple concerns," laughed Commander. "They worry about things like traffic and what to eat for dinner." "All young species start this way," replied. "We were once like them." The fleet moved deeper into the human solar system. They passed a large gas planet with many moons. Sensors showed some kind of activity around those moons, but the signals were weak and unclear. "Probably mining operations," the science officer reported. "Very basic technology, nothing to worry about." They flew past smaller rocky planets and fields of asteroids. Again, sensors picked up some activity, but it all looked primitive. The humans were clearly just learning to use the resources in their solar system. "Look at that," said, pointing at the screen. It showed a small space station orbiting Earth. "They built it out of metal tubes and solar panels. How quaint." Smiled, "In time we will teach them to build proper stations, ones that do not rust or break down." As they approached Earth, more human technology became visible. Satellites moved in orbit around the planet. Small ships traveled between Earth and its moon. Everything looked exactly as the reports had described. "Their ships move so slowly," observed the pilot. "Those chemical engines are terribly inefficient." "That is why they need us," said. "We will show them how to build clean, fast ships that do not pollute space." She began preparing her welcome speech. It would explain how the Galactic Concordant worked. She would tell the humans about the benefits of membership. She would also make clear the rules they would need to follow. They should be grateful, she thought. How many species get such a generous offer? The Admiral had given similar speeches to 6 other young species over the years. All of them had accepted gratefully. Why would humans be different? "Admiral," the communications officer called, "the humans are sending us a message." "Play it." A human voice filled the bridge. It spoke in the common galactic language, which surprised everyone. Most young species took years to learn it properly. "Welcome to our solar system," the voice said. "We have been expecting you." Expecting them? That was odd. How could the humans have known they were coming? We would like to meet with your representatives, the voice continued. However, we must follow security protocols. Please proceed to the coordinates we are sending you. An escort will meet you there. Security protocols? Escort? Frowned. Young species were usually eager to welcome galactic visitors immediately. This careful approach was unexpected. Perhaps they are just being polite, suggested. Perhaps, replied, but something felt wrong. The coordinates led them to empty space near the edge of the solar system. It was far from Earth and its moon. Why did the humans want to meet so far away from there? Should we follow their instructions? Asked the pilot. Thought for a moment. The human voice had been polite but firm. These security protocols suggested the humans were more organized than expected. Still, what harm could come from following their request? Yes, she said finally, but keep our sensors active. I want to know everything that happens in this system. As the fleet changed course, could not shake the feeling that this first contact was not going according to plan. Something about the humans was different from other young species. She just could not figure out what. The fleet arrived at the coordinates the humans had given them. Empty space stretched in all directions. No planets, no asteroids, nothing but the cold darkness between stars. Why did they want us to come here? Asked Commander. Admiral studied the scanner readings. I do not know. Perhaps they are being cautious. Incoming message from Earth, announced the communications officer. The same human voice from before filled the bridge. Thank you for following our directions. We appreciate your patience with our security procedures. Your escort is on the way and should arrive soon. The message ended, leaving the aliens confused. Escort, repeated. What kind of escort does a primitive species need to send? Maybe they want to show us their best ship, suggested. Young species often try to impress visitors. 20 minutes passed, then an hour. The alien fleet waited in empty space, growing more puzzled by the delay. Admiral, called the science officer suddenly. I am detecting something strange. What kind of strange? Energy readings from the inner system. Very faint, but they do not match what we saw before. Frowned, show me. The main screen changed to display sensor data from the direction of Earth. At first, everything looked normal. Then the computer enhanced the signals and patterns began to appear. There, pointed the science officer. Around the large gas planet, those are not the mining operations we detected earlier. The readings showed massive energy signatures, too large to be simple mining equipment, too organized to be natural phenomena. Could our sensors be wrong? Asked. Run a full diagnostic, ordered. I want to be sure. While they waited for the diagnostic results, more strange readings appeared. This time they came from the asteroid belt between the gas giant and Earth. Admiral, the science officer said quietly, these energy patterns, they look like construction signatures. Construction of what? I am not sure, but whatever they are building, it is very large. The diagnostic results came back normal. Their sensors were working perfectly. The energy readings were real. How could we have missed this during our approach? Demanded. The signatures were masked, replied the science officer. Hidden behind natural energy sources. If we had not been looking carefully, we would never have noticed. Felt a chill run through her. Masking energy signatures required advanced technology, much more advanced than anything in the human intelligence reports. Get me a secure channel to Earth, she ordered. Channel open, Admiral. Human representatives, she began. We have detected unexpected activity in your solar system. Our sensors show large construction projects that were not mentioned in our previous communications. Several minutes passed before the humans replied. Space was vast, and radio signals took time to travel even short distances. Admiral, came the human voice. We understand your curiosity about our activities. We will be happy to discuss everything when we meet in person. Your escort should arrive very soon. That was not a real answer. It was the kind of polite response diplomats used when they wanted to avoid difficult questions. They are hiding something, said quietly. But what, replied, and why? More energy readings appeared on their scanners. These came from even farther out in the solar system, beyond the gas giant. Whatever the humans were building, it was spread across vast distances. Admiral, the pilot called, I am detecting movement from the direction of the gas planet. Movement? What kind of movement? Something large, very large. It is coming this way. The bridge fell silent. Everyone stared at the scanner display, watching a single contact approach their position. The computer calculated its size and speed. That cannot be right, whispered the science officer. What does it say? Demanded. According to sensors, the approaching object is several kilometers long. It is moving at a significant fraction of light speed. Several kilometers? The largest ship was only a few hundred meters long. What could the humans possibly have built that was so massive? Maybe the sensors are malfunctioning, suggested hopefully. Run another diagnostic, ordered. But before the diagnostic could finish, every alarm on the bridge began to sound at once. Admiral, shouted the science officer, the approaching object just changed course. It is moving directly toward us. How fast? Faster than our ships can travel, much faster. Grabbed the arms of her command chair. Can we communicate with it? I am trying, but it is not responding to our signals. The object continued to approach. As it got closer, their sensors began to pick up more details. The readings made no sense. Admiral, the science officer said in a shaking voice, I am detecting weapons. What kind of weapons? I do not know. The energy signatures are unlike anything in our databases. How many weapons? Dozens, maybe hundreds. The bridge crew exchanged frightened looks. The largest ship carried only 6 light defensive weapons. Why would any ship need hundreds of weapons? Perhaps they are not weapons, said hopefully. Maybe they are tools or sensors or... His words died as the approaching object finally came into visual range. The main screen showed something that should have been impossible. It was a ship, but calling it a ship was like calling a mountain a rock. The thing was enormous beyond belief. Its hull was dark metal covered with scars and markings. Weapon turrets lined its sides like the spines of some great beast. Energy crackled around massive engines that warped space itself. By the ancient stars, whispered, what have they built? The human ship dwarfed the entire alien fleet. It could have carried all 12 of their vessels inside its cargo bays. Its weapons could have destroyed their entire expedition without effort. Admiral, the communications officer called in a trembling voice, the human ship is sending us a message. Put it through. A new voice filled the bridge. This one belonged to a human female. She spoke with calm authority that made think of veteran military officers. Greetings, Admiral. I am captain of the United Human Space Vessel Indomitable. Welcome to our solar system. I trust your journey was comfortable. The Indomitable, even the name sounded dangerous. We apologize for the delay, Captain continued. We wanted to make sure our meeting space was secure. I hope you understand the need for caution when different species meet for the first time. Caution looked at the massive warship on her screen. This was not caution. This was overwhelming military superiority. We understand you wish to discuss our membership in your galactic concordant, the human captain said. We have many questions about your organization. Would you like to come aboard for negotiations? Come aboard that massive ship. Training told her to refuse, but her diplomatic mission required face-to-face meetings. We accept your invitation, she managed to say. Excellent. Docking Bay 7 is opening now. Our shuttles will guide you in. As they prepared to board the human ship, realized everything had changed. The intelligence reports were wrong. The humans were not a primitive species that needed protection. They were something else entirely. Admiral had seen many impressive ships during her long career. She had visited the crystal palaces of the and the living vessels of the. She had toured the massive trade stations that orbited galactic core worlds. None of that prepared her for the inside of the human battleship. The docking bay alone was larger than her entire flagship. Rows of smaller human ships lined the walls like sleeping giants. Each one looked deadly and purposeful, built for war rather than exploration. Work crews moved between the ships, performing maintenance with practiced efficiency. How many ships do they have in here? Whispered Commander. Too many to count, replied quietly. Human soldiers waited to escort them from their shuttle. They wore armor that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Their weapons looked advanced but unfamiliar. Most disturbing of all, they moved with the calm confidence of professional warriors. "Welcome aboard the Indomitable," said the human leader. "I am Colonel Martinez. Captain is waiting for you on the bridge." As they walked through the ship's corridors, tried to make sense of what she saw. The walls were lined with metal that seemed too smooth and perfect to be natural. Lights appeared and disappeared as they needed them, following their group down the hallway. "How big is this ship?" she asked Colonel Martinez. "Just over 8 kilometers from bow to stern," he replied casually. "She is one of our smaller battleships." Smaller stopped walking. "How many ships like this do you have?" "I am not authorized to discuss fleet numbers," Martinez said, "but I can tell you the Indomitable has 7 sister ships in this class alone." 7 more ships this size? The entire Navy consisted of fewer than 100 vessels, and most of those were small exploration ships. How could one primitive planet build such a massive fleet? They passed a window that looked out into space. Through it, could see the human ship's hull stretching away into the distance. Gun turrets larger than her shuttle dotted the surface like mechanical hills. Each weapon was bigger than anything they had ever built. "What are those weapons designed to fight?" asked. "Many different threats," Martinez replied. "We have learned that space can be a dangerous place." They entered a lift that moved both up and sideways through the ship. As they traveled, caught glimpses of other sections. Manufacturing areas where robots built equipment she could not identify. Training rooms where human soldiers practiced with weapons that crackled with energy. Command centers filled with screens showing data from across the solar system. "Your intelligence reports said the humans were primitive," whispered to her. "This is not primitive technology." "I know," she whispered back. "Something is very wrong here." The lift finally stopped at the bridge. The doors opened to reveal a room that took breath away. The ceiling soared high above them, filled with holographic displays showing the positions of every ship in the solar system. The floor was made of the same strange metal as the corridors, but here it was transparent in places, revealing more levels of activity below. At the center of it all stood Captain. She was a tall woman with graying hair and scars on her hands that spoke of hard experience. Her uniform was simple but well-made. Most importantly, she carried herself like someone who had commanded ships in real battles. "Admiral," she said with a slight smile, "it is an honor to meet you. Please come and see what we have prepared for our discussion." Captain led them to a table near the center of the bridge. As they walked, noticed the human crew working at their stations. They moved with quiet efficiency, monitoring systems she could not begin to understand. "I must admit," said as they sat down, "we were surprised to receive your diplomatic mission. We had been watching your approach for several months." "Watching us for months?" asked. "But we were still crossing interstellar space. How could you detect us at such a distance?" "We have good sensors," replied simply. "We learned long ago that it is important to know who is coming to visit." "Your reports suggested that humans had only recently developed faster-than-light travel," said carefully. "But this ship represents technology far beyond what we expected." Nodded. "Yes, our broadcasts probably gave you that impression. We find it useful to let visitors form their own opinions before revealing our true capabilities." "But why? Why hide what you have accomplished?" "Because experience has taught us to be cautious with strangers," gestured to one of the displays. It showed a detailed scan of the alien fleet. "Your ships are clearly designed for exploration and diplomacy. You carry only light defensive weapons. This suggests your people have not faced serious threats in a long time." "The galaxy has been at peace for over 1,000 years, said proudly. "How fortunate for you," replied. "We have not been so lucky." "What do you mean?" Instead of answering directly, activated another display. This one showed images that made blood run cold. Massive mechanical creatures that looked like they were built for destruction. Energy beings that existed in the space between stars. Things that had too many teeth and eyes, floating in the darkness between worlds. "We have encountered other forms of life in our travels," explained. "Not all of them were interested in peaceful contact. You have fought these creatures. We have defended ourselves when necessary." His voice carried the weight of hard memories. "Space is vast and full of dangers your concordant has never imagined." Stared at the images, her mind struggling to process what she was seeing. These creatures looked like nightmares made real. How had humans survived encounters with such things? The intelligence reports we received about humanity, she said slowly. They described a young species with basic technology. Those reports were accurate in their own way, said. We did start with basic technology, chemical rockets, nuclear power, metal ships. But when you face extinction, you learn to adapt quickly. How quickly? We went from chemical rockets to faster-than-light travel in less than 50 years. From simple nuclear weapons to defensive systems that can stop planet killers. From a few hundred people in space to a fleet that can protect our entire solar system. 50 years, most species took centuries to make such advances. The pressure of constant threats must have pushed human development at an incredible pace. You mentioned that this is one of your smaller battleships, said quietly. How many ships do you have? Smiled, but her eyes remained serious. Enough. I need specific numbers for my report, insisted. Admiral, with respect, those numbers are classified military information. What I can tell you is that every human world is protected. Every trade route is patrolled. Every colony ship has an escort. We learned early that peace is only possible when you are prepared for war. The implications hit like a physical blow. Human worlds, trade routes, colonies. The intelligence reports had described humans as a single-planet species that had barely begun to explore space. How many worlds do you control? She asked weakly. Control is not the right word, corrected. We protect 17 inhabited systems and maintain outposts in 43 others. Our influence extends across roughly 300 light-years of space. 300 light-years? That was a significant portion of this region of the galaxy. How had the Concordant missed such a large expansion? You have been very careful to avoid detection, observed. We prefer to watch and learn before making contact with new species, agreed. Your Concordant, for example, we have been studying your organization for over 20 years. 20 years, gasped, but you never made contact. We wanted to understand your intentions first. Your laws and restrictions for new member species were particularly interesting. Felt a chill of understanding. You know about the limitations placed on young species. We know that joining your Concordant would mean giving up our military capabilities, said quietly. We know you would restrict our expansion and limit our technology development. We know you believe this is for our own good. It is for everyone's good, said automatically. Young species often become aggressive. They threaten their neighbors and disrupt galactic peace. Perhaps, agreed. But those restrictions would leave us helpless against the threats we have already faced. And based on our observations, your member species would be equally helpless if those threats ever reached them. The truth was becoming clear, and it terrified. The humans were not a primitive species seeking protection. They were a military power that had been secretly watching the Concordant from the shadows. Now they held all the advantages in any negotiation. Captain walked over to a large display screen and activated it with a touch. The screen came alive with images that made Admiral's hearts skip several beats. Let me show you what we have been dealing with, said calmly. The first image showed a battle in space. Human ships, including several that looked like the Indomitable, were fighting against something that description. It was a mass of metal and energy that kept changing shape, reaching out with tentacles of pure electricity to grab and crush any ship that came too close. The Devourers, explained. We first encountered them 8 years ago when they attacked our colony on 442B. They consume metal and energy, growing larger with each ship they destroy. How did you stop them? Commander asked, his voice barely above a whisper. We learned to fight them. We developed new weapons, new tactics. We lost 17 ships and 3,000 people before we found their weakness. Touched the screen and the image changed. They cannot consume certain rare metals when they are charged with specific energy frequencies. The next image showed human ships working together to surround one of the creatures. Beams of strange energy hit the creature from all sides, causing it to convulse and finally break apart into harmless pieces. We now carry those weapons on all our ships, continued, just in case we encounter the Devourers again. She changed the image again. This time it showed something even more frightening. A dark region of space where stars were going out one by one, leaving only empty blackness behind. The Shadow Fleet, said. We still do not fully understand what they are. ships that exist between dimensions, creatures made of living darkness. They appeared in the system 2 years ago. What did they want? Managed to ask. To erase everything. They do not conquer or consume, they simply make things stop existing. His voice grew harder. We evacuated the entire system and then fought them for 3 months. We lost more ships in that battle than in all our previous encounters combined. But you won. We survived. They retreated back to whatever dimension they came from, but they will return eventually. Things like that always do. The images kept changing. Each one showed humans fighting against creatures that looked like they came from nightmares. Machine intelligences that turned planets into factories for building more of themselves. Energy beings that fed on stars. Swarms of living ships that bred faster than they could be destroyed. How many of these threats have you faced? Asked. 12 major encounters in the past 15 years, replied. Dozens of smaller incidents, each one taught us something new about survival. But why have we never detected any of this? The Concordant has sensors throughout the galaxy. Smiled grimly. Your sensors watch for the kind of threats you understand. Wars between biological species, political conflicts, resource disputes. These creatures operate on different principles. They exist in quantum dimensions or between the spaces in normal space or in frequencies your technology cannot detect. She activated another display. This one showed a star map of the local region of the galaxy. Red dots marked locations where threats had appeared. The pattern was sobering. The attacks were getting closer to the galactic core, where most concordant species lived. We believe something is driving these creatures toward inhabited space, explained. Something even more dangerous that we have not encountered yet. What could be worse than what you have already shown us? Asked. We do not know, but whatever it is pushing these threats ahead of it like a wave, pointed to the star map. The attacks started here on the far edge of the galaxy and have been moving inward ever since. Your concordant worlds are directly in their path. Felt sick. The peaceful alliance she represented was completely unprepared for threats like these. Their ships were built for exploration and trade, not warfare. Their weapons were designed to stop pirates and discourage aggression between member species. Against creatures that could erase matter itself or consume entire star systems, the Concordant would be helpless. Why are you telling us this? She asked. Because we believe the galaxy's civilized species should survive, replied. Humanity has spent 15 years learning to fight these threats. We have developed weapons, tactics, and technologies specifically designed to defend against creatures that should not exist. We would prefer to share that knowledge rather than watch your species be destroyed. But that would require abandoning the restrictions your Concordant places on military development, finished. Yes, your current laws would prevent you from building the ships and weapons you need to defend yourselves. His mind raced. Everything she had believed about galactic safety was falling apart. The Concordant's peace had existed only because they had been lucky enough to avoid real threats. How many ships does humanity really have? She asked. Paused, then made a decision. Show them the fleet display, she called to one of her officers. The main screen changed to show something that took breath away. Hundreds of ships appeared on the display, spread throughout the solar system. Some were hidden behind moons and asteroids. Others were stationed at the edge of interstellar space. All of them were large, heavily armed, and ready for battle. This is just our home fleet, explained. Each of our 17 worlds has similar protection. We also maintain rapid response forces that can reach any threatened system within days. That is more firepower than the entire Concordant possesses, whispered. Your Concordant was designed for peace, pointed out. Our fleet was forged in war. Different purposes require different tools. What do you want from us? Asked. That depends on what you want from us, replied. Your original mission was to invite humanity to join the Concordant as a protected junior species. You plan to restrict our military development and limit our expansion. Those laws exist for good reasons. They exist because your species have never faced existential threats, interrupted gently. We have, multiple times. Those experiences have taught us that survival sometimes requires capabilities that peaceful species find disturbing. You are saying we should change our laws. I am saying you should consider what happens when the creatures we fight decide to move deeper into the galaxy. What will the Concordant do when the Devourers attack your trade routes? How will you stop the Shadow Fleet when they start erasing your worlds? Had no answer. The weapons and defenses of concordant member species were designed to fight other biological species using familiar technology. Against threats that operated outside normal physical laws, they would be useless. We could teach you, offered. Share our knowledge, our weapons, our tactics. Help you build fleets capable of defending your worlds against threats that conventional military thinking cannot handle. In exchange for what? Partnership, real partnership, not the protectorate relationship you originally planned for us. Humans have experience fighting impossible enemies. Your species have knowledge about science, culture, and technology that we lack. Together, we might be able to prepare for whatever is driving these threats toward civilized space. Activated one more display. This one showed images of concordant worlds, beautiful cities, peaceful populations, advanced sciences, and rich cultures. All of this could be gone in a matter of years if the wrong threat appears, she said quietly. Your choice is simple. You can maintain your current restrictions and face annihilation when something arrives that your peaceful defenses cannot stop. Or you can adapt, learn to fight, and give civilization a chance to survive. The bridge fell silent except for the quiet hum of the ship's systems. Stared at the images of her people's worlds, trying to imagine them dark and empty, consumed by creatures that should not exist. I need to contact the Concordant Council, she said finally. Of course, agreed. But Admiral, you should know that whether you accept our offer or not, we will continue to fight these threats. The only question is whether you will be our allies when they reach your space, or casualties that we arrive too late to save. 3 days later, Admiral stood once again on the bridge of the Indomitable, but everything had changed. She was no longer a confident representative of a superior galactic civilization. She was a desperate diplomat trying to save her people from threats they could not imagine. The response from the Concordant Council had been swift and predictable. Disbelief, then fear, then angry demands for proof, had sent them everything. Recordings of her conversations with Captain, detailed scans of human technology, tactical analyses of the battles humanity had fought. The Council's second response had been more thoughtful but equally predictable. They wanted to verify the information independently. They wanted to study human technology. They wanted to understand exactly what threats were moving toward concordant space. Most importantly, they wanted to know if there was another solution that did not require abandoning their peaceful principles. The Council finds it difficult to accept that military force is the only answer, explained the captain. We have maintained peace for over 1,000 years without massive fleets or terrible weapons. I understand their hesitation, replied. Peace is a beautiful thing, but it only works when everyone chooses to be peaceful. The creatures we fight did not choose peace, they chose destruction. Commander, who had spent the past 3 days touring the human ship and learning about their technology, looked pale and shaken. Admiral, I have seen their weapon designs. I have watched recordings of their battles. The threats they describe are real. Our current defenses would be completely useless. The Council wants to send a scientific mission, continued. They want to study these threats directly before making any decisions about changing our laws. Nodded slowly. That is their choice, but they should understand the risks. The creatures we fight are not laboratory specimens. They are active threats that kill anyone who gets too close. Perhaps if we could capture one of them. We have tried that, interrupted. The Devourer we captured consumed half of our research station before we managed to destroy it. The Shadow Fleet entity we tried to study turned 3 of our best scientists into empty space. These are not things you can safely examine up close. Then what do you suggest? Start small, replied. Let us show your people how to build better sensors, ones that can detect threats your current technology misses. When those sensors start picking up danger signals, your council will understand that we are not exaggerating. Activated her communication system and contacted her ship. The Concordant delegation had been debating constantly since learning the truth about humanity. Some wanted to flee immediately and warn their worlds. Others wanted to stay and learn as much as possible. A few even suggested that the humans were lying about the threats in order to justify their military expansion. Admiral, came the voice of the representative. Our crystal ships have analyzed the human vessel. The technology is genuine. The weapon signatures are unlike anything in our databases. Whatever they built these things to fight, it was not other biological species. "The agree," added another voice. "Our living ships can sense the emotional resonance in human technology. It was forged in genuine fear and desperation. These people have faced real horrors." "But do we have any choice except to trust them?" asked the representative. "They could be using our fear to manipulate us into giving them what they want." Who had been listening to the conversation spoke up. "You always have a choice. You can reject our offer and return to your space. You can maintain your current laws and hope the threats never reach you. You can choose to believe that the galaxy is safer than it actually is." "And if we are wrong," asked, "then your people will die when something attacks that your peaceful defenses cannot stop," replied bluntly. "The creatures we fight do not care about your laws, your culture, or your desire for peace. They care only about destruction." The communication channel fell silent for a long moment. Finally, the representative spoke. "What would this partnership look like? What exactly are you proposing?" "Start with an exchange program," suggested. "Send us your best scientists and engineers. We will teach them about the threats we have encountered and the technologies we have developed to fight them. In return, we would like to learn about your peaceful sciences and cultural developments." "You want to learn from us?" asked, surprised. "We have spent 15 years focused on war and survival," explained. "We have achieved remarkable things, but we have also lost something. Our art, our philosophy, our ability to dream about better futures instead of just surviving today. Your people have preserved those things. We need to remember how to live, not just how to fight." "What about our laws restricting military development?" "They would need to change," said simply. "Not eliminated, but modified. Instead of preventing all military development, they should focus on preventing unnecessary aggression between member species. Instead of limiting fleet sizes, they should ensure that fleets are used for defense rather than conquest." "The Council will never agree to that," said. "Then the Council will watch their worlds burn," replied without emotion. "Admiral, I am not trying to be cruel. I am trying to be honest. The threats are coming whether you prepare for them or not. The only question is whether you will be ready when they arrive." Made her decision. "What would you need from us to begin this exchange program?" "Access to your scientific databases and cultural archives," replied immediately. "Information about concordant worlds and their defensive capabilities. Most importantly, permission to share our threat analysis data with your military commanders." "And what would you provide in return?" "Complete technological specifications for our defensive systems, tactical manuals for fighting unconventional threats, training programs for your military personnel, and a promise that we will defend any concordant world that comes under attack from the creatures we have encountered. You would protect our worlds even if the Council rejects your proposal." "We protect all civilized life," said. "That is what we do. The only difference is whether we do it as allies or as strangers who happen to be in the same fight." Looked around the bridge of the massive human warship. 3 days ago, she had come here expecting to offer humanity a place as a junior member of galactic civilization. Now she was negotiating for her people's survival. "I will recommend that the Council accept your proposal," she said finally. "But it may take time for them to understand the full scope of what you are offering." "Time is something we may not have much of," warned. "Our deep space sensors are detecting movement in the outer galaxy. Something large is displacing the creatures we have been fighting. Whatever is driving them towards civilized space, it is getting closer." "How much time do we have?" 5 years, maybe 10 if we are lucky," replied. "Not long enough to completely rebuild your fleets, but enough to give you a fighting chance if you start immediately." As the concordant delegation prepared to return to their ships, walked with them to the docking bay. The massive human vessel continued its silent patrol of the solar system, ready to defend against threats the aliens could barely imagine. "Admiral," said as they reached their shuttle, "when you speak to your council, remember this. The galaxy is larger and more dangerous than your concordant ever realized. But it is also more precious than any of us fully understood. Together, we can make sure that civilization has a future, all of civilization." As the alien ships departed for their long journey back to concordant space, Captain returned to her bridge. The Indomitable's sensors continued their endless watch, scanning the darkness between stars for signs of the next threat. Behind them, hidden in the shadows of the outer solar system, the rest of humanity's secret fleet waited in silence. They had revealed themselves to the galaxy at last. Now they could only hope that the revelation had come in time. The universe was vast and full of horrors that sought to devour everything good and peaceful, but it was also full of species willing to stand together against the darkness. For the first time in years, Captain allowed herself to hope that might be enough.